Thanks. Elizabeth Banks was amazing in the movie.
She was great, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was fantastic. And, you could really feel sort of the journey she went on. But she's traditionally a lot more of a comedic actress. I'm wondering how that decision...
Well, I like doing that. I like taking actors and putting them in roles that surprise you. I did it in Crash and even in The Valley of Ella and this one. And I think if you've seen actors do the same role over and over again, there's no sense going to the theater. You want to... It's a great gift to an audience to say, oh, wow, look at her do that. Or look at him do that. And so I thought she came in and read for the role. And she did a great job. So Russell and I just said, yeah.
How did you decide to choose this particular story and coming from a French?
Mm-hmm. I don't mind the remakes and things like that. I figured if Scorsese could do it, so could I. But it had to be an emotional reason for me to do it. And there were questions that I wanted to ask about the nature of love, about the nature of belief, that I thought I could explore a little more deeply than they did, and so things that were reflected from my life that I could stir around and see if I can come up with my own answers. So that's why.
Well, the whole thing is so beautifully driven by love. That,
it's a love story.
That's how it immediately strikes you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, I wanted to touch a little bit on the daringness that's in part of this film. This guy, he's going through this big, huge caper, and it's all interior, it's all in his head, and the daringness that he puts everything into place with is so unbelievable. And I was wondering for you, what did you feel this film and that fearlessness says about the industry right now, and how this film fits into the industry?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. I guess just making an adult drama is a daring act right now. So, especially going up against Harry Potter this weekend. But you have to believe, like he does, that there's an audience there. I believe in this kind of movie. I think that there's an audience for it, and that people like to be challenged. An audience likes to be challenged, and an audience likes to think, and they like to be entertained. So hopefully, in the middle of what I want to do is take those questions that we all talk about and just hide them inside a really good and compelling movie. So that's hopefully what I've done.
Thank you.
I wonder if there's another component to Russell Crowe's sort of mania, this folly. He took it to the point where others didn't even care. She didn't seem to care.
Didn't care. Yeah, no. That's the point. Is that he believed, and it didn't matter that no one else did. It didn't matter when attorney didn't believe her, his parents, her parents. No one believes her. Even inside a point, she doesn't believe in herself. And he just says, I don't care. I still believe in you. And there's something transformative about that, I think. If you believe in somebody that much, even when they can't believe in themselves, I think that really, that's love.
It was verging into...
Oh, it's past madness. It's not verging into it. But then that's what love is, isn't it? Yeah. Love is madness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I was wondering, because this is, as a director, one of your first thrillers, really, and more dramatic work in the past, and I'm wondering if that influenced your approach in any sort of way differently.
I'd grown up on all the films of Hitchcock, and so I was a huge admirer of his. I've seen every single one of his movies dozens of times. Well, not every single one, many of them. And so I'd always wanted to do a thriller. I'd always wanted to do a caper movie. I really like him. So I didn't have to watch any. I didn't have to. I try not to watch any movies when I'm making my own. I try not to read when I'm making my movies. I really try to just stay in that world. And let the film find its own imagery and its own voice. So hopefully we just influenced by the story, because I think that's what you have to do as a filmmaker, is just serve the story.
Thanks. I think one of the most interesting parts of the plot is at the end of the film we find out that she's innocent. I mean, we find it out. But
do you?
John, in terms of what we are witnessing, we witness that. But I mean, John.
Okay, let me argue with you.
Okay.
Okay. I show you two flashbacks. They're basically the same. There's a time shift in one. First one is Russell Crowe's point of view, in which he's looking at the evidence and wondering if maybe he's wrong, because the evidence looks overwhelming. His wife did it. Later, I show you the exact same stuff. I shuffle the time again. She gets there second, not first, to the garage, right? And then basically the same thing happens. This time it's a cop's point of view, and he's wondering maybe if he's wrong. Right? And then you go, oh, the button. well, that proves there is, right? What the hell does that prove? There was a button, right? And also, if you look at both of the scenes, the button popped when she was guilty and the button popped when she was innocent.
Oh.
You tell me when she's innocent. Exactly. But here's the thing, is that film is such a powerful medium. You show something on the screen and we want to believe it, especially if after all that time we desperately want to prove that he's right. Right? So you see that it's really hard not to believe that second flashback. It's very hard. So I know what I believe, but you still, to me it doesn't matter. But I understand that putting something, especially at that place, at that point, those things at the end of the movie tend to go, oh yes, that's right. But if you're watching on second viewing,
it was funny because John doesn't find out, right? And
John does not find out.
Dramatic.
Exactly. John will never know. Yeah, he doesn't need to.
Doesn't need to know.
He doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to.
Yeah, no, so I just wanted to touch on that because one of my favorite parts was I actually watched it thinking, maybe she did do this, and you didn't give a clear-cut answer on that. But, since you are in Russell Crowe's mind, that, you're kind of believing that. Was that a clear-cut decision from the start that you never want to really give an answer to this? And was it something you had to fight
I
for?
wanted you to feel fulfilled at the end. And so I wanted you to be able to create your own picture. So I gave you enough information, and obviously you did, and a lot of people did, to create your own picture. But someone else could go out and argue the opposite. And just like I did, go and people go, oh, maybe I'm wrong. But I like the fact that you can really invest in it and go, yes, she's innocent. And someone else can go, really? How about this? And you go, oh, shut up. I don't want to understand that. I don't want to think that.
Was there any fights at the studio at all that it's
None.
No?
None.
Him?
That's good.
No. There was a lot of input. The studio was great, and they gave me a lot of input. I like taking people's notes. I like hearing things. It's a collaborative medium. But at the end of the day, I'll make my decision. But you like doing it based on it would like to be an informed decision. So yeah, I don't mind. I listen to the studio.
I have a question about being a director. What was the most difficult part about directing this film in particular?
I had 394 scenes, and which Ed Zwick was shooting at the same time, complaining that he had 140. So that was just a lot of running around, getting from this place to that. And when I first sat down, I said, wow, I have 52 days to shoot this movie. I've never had that much time in my life. I had 35 days on Crash. I had 45 on In the Valley of Ella, 52. What will I do with all that time? Well, I quickly found out. So it was a real challenge just to get it on film. Because Russell was in a lot of it. He had 3 or 4 makeup changes a day sometimes because I was stupid enough to have him beaten early in the film. And then his makeup has to change every day. And I'm like, oh my God. And so that was a real challenge, just getting it on film.
Well, just watching it, it was very breathless. I mean, we had a team of us, and there were points at which it was like if you didn't just lower that tension a bit, we were not going to make it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, that's the whole thing. I heard a friend of mine yesterday gave me a quote, day before yesterday. Miles Davis said, "It's hard to play slow." And that's the first half of the movie. It's hard to keep that kind of tension when it's very internal and slow. It's easy when you're running and jumping. So the first half of the movie was the hardest for me. Keeping your interest. I hope people have the patience for it. Some people don't. Some people, and some reviewers have come back and said, "Oh my God, it is boring in the first hour." And I said, "Really? Okay, that's your choice." But I thought the emotional stakes are really what's important to me there. And if you don't care about the people by the time you run and jump, then you're just running and jumping.
May I ask, I know you mentioned before about the research about going online. How do we break into this thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Was there ever a moment where you and Russell actually sat down with a con guy, and thought, "Whoa,
No,
what's going on?"
No, we sat down with the prison officials and a lot of people, the people who would try and stop him. I guess I'm enough of con myself to figure the rest of it out. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You went to Fanshawe
Yes.
and studied, and I just wonder what your plan was for your career at that point.
Oh gosh, I didn't have much in the way of plans in those days. I would love to. I'd love to make movies. I really wanted to make movies. I didn't see how in the hell I'd ever do it. Yeah, so I just went to LA and said, "I'll try," and it took me a long time. Yeah, you just have to keep. It's like him. You have to keep. It's illogical. It's sort of madness to go into this job, this career, but thinking that you'll succeed. It took me a long time to do so, but you just keep going.
It doesn't seem like that long when you see the number of credits that you have. Very prestigious films.
I've only been making movies for 7 years now. Crash and $1 Million Baby were my first 2 movies. So, yes. Yeah.
You say in your press notes that one of the things that draws you to a story is when there's a question that you can't answer for yourself. Yes. And I'm just wondering if after having made this movie, you might be able to figure out what you would do if you were in his place now.
You know, I don't know what I would do in his place. I know that none of us know. It's all bullshit until we're actually in that situation. Because until we're tested, we don't know who we truly are. We can sit in a coffee shop and talk about, oh yes, I would do this, I would do this. It's all nonsense. So I would hope that I would have the courage to do what he does. But I don't know.
Thanks.
Talking a bit about the casting of Russell Crowe, what's interesting is that he's known as an action kind of guy, but the character, even though he turns into kind of an action hero, he still has to stay like the everyman. He still has to remain clumsy. He still has to remain.
I think his roles, his few roles he's played that are so iconically heroic, Gladiator and Robin Hood and things like this, leave such an imprint on us that we forget about Beautiful Mind, we forget about The Insider, these deeply complex and failed human beings. We know that, I knew in seeing that work that he could easily play that. He'd easily be the person that within 2 minutes of watching this film, you just feel so sorry for this guy and know that he was going to fail. He didn't get a chance. Yeah.
Thank you. Going on leaving an imprint, I don't think we can go without talking about Liam Neeson. You know,
yeah.
He's got one scene, but kind of kills what's going on. And I just want to know about, how you decided to go with him.
Well, it's not that decision. I mean, I knew that I wanted an actor of his stature, someone who when you put him across from Russell Crowe, and he says these things, you go, oh yeah, he's right. So I needed somebody with a great moral authority. And I thought of Liam, who I'd met a couple of years before. And so I figured out what he was doing. He was shooting A-Team across the country in Vancouver. So I'm going to ask him anyways. And so I sent him the script. He said, yes, I mean, he read it and went, well, can you shoot it in one day? I went, yeah, I can. Lying. But I figured I could. There's a lot of work going to it. And just in a bar, it's 2 guys talking, how hard thing I'd be. I've got 2 great actors, so it'll go fast. So he says, great, well, I've got 2 days off next week. So I got 2 days off. He flew in to Pittsburgh, did that, and flew back. Wow. What fabulous. But I got that in Brian Dennehy, I got that in RZA, I got that in Daniel Stern. There's so many wonderful actors who came and did 1 scene, or 2 scenes, Olivia Wilde. All these people who just said, oh, I'll do that. I went, really? Wow, thanks. It was so great because you want... It's a man who's sort of walking through... I guess it's his own journey through hell. And as it goes, it's like the Inferno. You want to meet various people along the way, and those people have to make a real imprint on him. And so you want actors who have that personal persona and those skills. And so I was blessed to have these actors.
Thanks.
Going back to A Beautiful Mind,
yes.
The map on the wall. We immediately were like, oh wow. Did you do that deliberately?
No, that came out of the French film. It came out of the French film, and I was very moved by it, and I thought it was very cool. So no, I just followed their print in that case.
And the second thing was the little boy.
Oh, wasn't he great?
He was
Ty
marvelous.
Simpkins, and he was in the audition process. I found him, and he's such a happy little kid, but someone who can throw himself into that role so easily and be so withdrawn, and you just know. And yet, he could play with his dad. You saw that bond between he and his dad. So that by the time Russell has to make a decision about his son, you just go, no, what are you talking about? You can't leave your son. So, he was wonderful.